but I think there will always be an appetite for live sports. So that is what I'm going to continue to affirm. And in terms of the experience, especially after everything we've been through as a society in the last 4 to 5 years, there's nothing better than being at a live event.
Nice.
I don't care if it's a conference, a concert, a game, and the in-game experiences everywhere are me. I mean, you talk about Paris and France putting its own touch on it. I love going to events in person. There's nothing like it.
Today, we are excited to welcome to the show Zora Stephenson, a play-by-play reporter with NBC Sports and a 6-time Emmy award-winning journalist. That is insane, Zora. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am honored to be here. And, Raleigh in general is outside I'm used to being, in a gym somewhere. So this is great to meet all different types of people.
Yeah, so we're talking here live at Raleigh. You're here as a speaker. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I am on a panel about the convergence of sports and entertainment. And when I was preparing for it, I was like, well, sports is a sector of entertainment.
Yes.
It is a form of entertainment. And so entertaining is in everything that we do. Whether I'm a play-by-play, my job is to caption a big moment. We're in Indiana, where Caitlin Clark plays for the Indiana Fever. I actually had the opportunity to call her record-breaking shot when she broke the women's college basketball record.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. That is awesome.
Yeah. And so, you talk about entertainment. Obviously, it's Caitlin's moment, but it was my job to put a pin on it and provide
capture that moment.
Exactly, provide some context, and then reporting. It's connecting the athletes to the viewers. I just got back from the Olympics and covered gymnastics and Simone Biles, and most of us cannot even attempt to do anything she's doing, but we relate to motivation, going through hardship, and so as a reporter, it's humanizing these athletes. So. Love what I do.
Can we just touch on that a moment? And then I want to go backwards, right? And kind of and then come back to the present. But you mentioned Simone Biles. I remember vividly watching, when everything went down the last Olympics. And she was dealing with what they call the twisties.
Twisties, yes.
And she had to make I can't imagine how tough a decision that would be to make that decision that she was going to withdraw from the competition. And, I can't imagine being a gymnast at that level and having the twisties, the mental things you're going through. Like you could get severely injured.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, it was a safety choice that she had to make because she could not physically and mentally connect her mind to her body at the time. And when you're doing dangerous moves like she is, they've got to be in sync. And they just weren't.
And so part of what I want to weave into our conversation today is this concept of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to come through, some of these social apps and through the TV of people who questioned her decision. And I don't like the naysayers. And so we don't have to repeat all the things that those naysayers said. But then what goes through my mind is when I see a naysayer is, are you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Your entire life, giving up childhood in essence. I just have so much respect for Simone and what she's done, the decisions she made. So anyways, as we talk today, any stories that kind of highlight, vulnerability and things, I just think are always really special. All right. So where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Northern Virginia.
Yep.
Played basketball my entire childhood. Got a scholarship to play Division I basketball at Elon University, which is in North Carolina. And I knew it's D1, but it's mid-major, right?
Yep.
And so I knew the ball would probably stop bouncing after college. And so I was always looking at ways how can I stay within sports, specifically basketball? That's just where my heart is.
What position did you play?
Shooting guard. I was a shooter.
I like to say I've never seen a shot past half court that I don't like.
Right. Same. That was my role. That was my bread and I actually just did an individual workout. I went back to college and worked out with some of the coaches the other day, and I am on a personal high. The fact that I even got through it.
It's awesome.
All these years later, but played basketball. And I knew when I went to college that I wanted to be a reporter. Now, did I even know what that meant?
Right.
Probably not. So I hosted the football games. I was an analyst for volleyball games. I did everything on campus that I could. Had multiple internships. I just love meeting new people. I love telling people stories, connecting people.
Yep.
I love the adrenaline. Live television is the only thing that gives me the same rush as knocking down a three-pointer
That's
that the
awesome.
team needs, and so my journey started in Greenville, North Carolina, which is a small town right by ECU University, East Carolina University. I was there for 2 years, covered everything from crime, politics, hurricanes, a lot of weather events, high school football, and
so you're just like on the spot reporter, like you whatever that random event is, you're out on the scene.
I would go into the office every morning and, I'd get a different story. So one morning I could go in at 9 a.m. and they say, you have a school board meeting that you have to cover and it has to be on air by 5. And I drove everywhere myself. I operated the camera by myself. If you saw me live on television, it was my own setup.
That's awesome.
Everything was what I did on my own for the CBS affiliate there. I was there for 2 years. And then I went to Denver, Colorado. So I got a big jump, which was amazing, and did the same thing, but bigger market, bigger city, more resources. So I was in Denver, Colorado for 2 years doing the same thing, crime, politics, education. There's actually a Netflix documentary called American Horror Story or American Murder, one of those. But it's about a man who basically killed his entire family. And I was the first person to interview him. And at the time, he was innocent. He was just looking for his missing family. And so I knocked on his door. I was there by myself. And the documentary shows the police knocking on the door and asking us to go outside so that the dogs could sniff the house. And at that moment, I realized that I needed a shift just because I was covering the worst thing in a community every single day.
Yeah, the worst part of humanity.
Yeah, the worst part of humanity. And I remember I got the interview, and at that time, he's, still just a dad looking for his missing family. That night, I get an alert that he had confessed to the entire thing.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was traumatized.
Yes.
For the family and for myself being alone with him. And I went back into work the next day, and they were praising me for getting the interview. And at that moment, I knew I needed kind of just to change some things up.
So when you first went into the industry, did you try to go straight through the sports route, but you kind of had to start this general route before you?
Yes, sports is hard. Well,
like to prove yourself before
you have to prove that you can be on TV. You have to prove that you know how to do the job.
Yep.
And I didn't go to a major Power 5 school. Now, say I went to Duke or, UCLA, like I might have been able to jump right from college into sports. But because I didn't play at a Power 5, they didn't see me in that way right away. So I had to prove myself and go to these smaller markets, start in news. And sports is hard to get into. Jobs are not posted online.
Right.
It's all who you know. The opportunity has to meet preparation. And so I was just sending my reel, which is basically clips of me doing my job, out to everyone. I sent it to every conference, every team at various levels. And I got an interview with the Milwaukee Bucks. And next thing I know, I'm working for the Milwaukee Bucks full time. That job absolutely changed my life, changed my career. I was there for 4 years. I was the first woman ever to call a Bucks game in the play-by-play seat in 2021. Hosted an NBA championship parade. Like I have so many amazing memories from being in Milwaukee.
That's not that long ago. That's just a few years.
Yeah. So I was there from 2019 to 2023. And yeah, I loved every minute of being there.
So what was that moment, the first time you ever were in the play-by-play seat? The very first game, Milwaukee Bucks, what was going through your mind?
So we got to back up a little bit because my first ever play-by-play experience was when I was in Denver and I did some college hoops on the side.
Yep.
And I was supposed to be an analyst for the conference tournament, for a Division II conference in Colorado. I was going to be the analyst. I'm a hooper, break down the game. The play-by-play voice that day loses his voice. He's hoarse, so he can't do it. And they call me and they're like, have you ever done play-by-play before? I had not, but we all got to do what we got to do to get a gig.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I was like, sure. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'll never forget, called some of my mentors. And within 2 hours, I was calling my first ever game in the play-by-play seat. Had no idea what I was doing. And little did I know, 2 years later, I would be calling an NBA game.
That's insane.
The journey is incredible. I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. And now I call play-by-play on the regular for college basketball, for the New York Liberty, a WNBA team. It's
like
part
of
old
hat for you.
Yeah. So it's part of my regular job.
What is that like? So you're calling play-by-play. What are the things that we don't think about, right? As a common watcher, listener, watching a game, what's going behind the scenes that you've got to know, memorize, understand? How do you script? The what do you call them? What are the dead points? When you're doing fill in, commentary.
Right.
What are some of the things that we wouldn't see
Well,
as a
first of
common listener.
all, you have to know every single player, and you have to know them to the point. And let's think of a basketball game, right? There's 10 players on the court at one time, but you've got to know all the bench players as well, because anyone can come in at any given moment.
Right.
You've got to know their background. You've got to know, if we're talking college, what other school, now that a lot of kids are transferring, so what other schools have they played for? Where are they from? What year are they in? You got to know the coaches and their backgrounds. How many years have they been at this school? What was the record like last year? What's the success of the program? What's the themes of the program? What type of basketball do they like to play? Are they gritty? Do they like to shoot threes? What else? You have to know, and you have to be able to do it as everybody's running up and down.
Right.
You have to know their stats. You have to know their field goal shooting percentage, the 3-point. I mean, you have to know everything about these players, but make it sound natural. And nothing is scripted, because you don't know what's going to happen in the game. You just have to react.
What kind of technology are you using to try to pull this stuff, to fingertip information? Like, what are you using to?
Yeah, I have 2 boards, 11 by 14, one for each team, like paper, that I print at FedEx before every game, and they sit next to me. And so I will type in notes. I will have the stats all ready to go. And you got to have like a good idea of what the stats are, but at times you look down. But again, the game's so fast, if you don't have it in your head already.
Yeah.
And then I'll have my iPad with the stats of the game constantly updating.
So are you studying all day?
Yeah.
Basically?
Yeah, I would say even all week.
All week?
Leading up to a game.
Because there's 3-4 games a week?
Yeah, for basketball. Some people have 3-4. If you're doing like NBA, college is 2.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit more time to prepare.
That's pretty fast paced.
Yeah. I talk to myself a lot. I do what we call air jumpers.
Yes.
So I'll pull up like previous highlights of a game, and I'll just call them so I can be quick on my feet, so I know how to caption certain movements and everything like that. So it's amazing, yeah.
So I encourage entrepreneurs all the time to do that, to talk to yourself, to talk in front of the mirror. Because when we do that, we're like, oh, I didn't sound very smart then. I didn't look very, my intonation of my voice. Do it in front of your kids if you have kids, or do it in front of your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your spouse or whatever. So I think it's really interesting you just said that, right? So you're a professional at the pinnacle of what you're doing, and you still talk to yourself.
Because you have to be confident in it.
Yes.
Preparation is everything. You may not use everything that you prepare for, but say you're interviewing someone for a new role, you can tell if they're not confident in what they're doing. And so doing those repetitions and just talking to yourself gives you confidence for an interview, an opportunity, doing play-by-play, whatever it may be.
And it takes hundreds or thousands, right?
They say in basketball, 2,000 reps.
2,000 reps.
To get something to become habit. 2,000 reps.
2,000 reps.
Think about that.
That's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome. All right. So Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
And then you transition to NBC Sports.
Correct.
So, okay. And then you get to go see the GOAT.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk
covered
to us
her
about
for the
that.
last couple of years. So yeah, I've been at NBC it's my 3rd year at NBC starting now. And I'm the reporter on Notre Dame football for NBC.
Okay.
Big Ten college football, Big Ten college basketball, A10 college basketball. And then NBC has the Olympics. And so in the years leading up to the Olympics, there's various competitions.
Yep.
So I started covering Simone a couple years ago. And then the pinnacle of it was the Olympics this summer. My goodness. Yeah. I mean, I got to be there in person for the comeback.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, redemption was the theme of this team, not just for Simone, but for Suni Lee and Jade Carey and Jordan Childs and Hesley Rivera is the youngest of the team at 16 years old. So to be there for all of them to perform on that stage. And Paris was amazing because fans are back. The energy is back. Families are back. The city did an amazing job making it accessible and able to get to different events. Everything I went to was packed. I mean, yes, I covered gymnastics, sold out for every single thing. And it's emotional to hear USA chants in the middle of Paris. You know what I'm saying? And so you have that. And then I went to track meets, completely sold out. Those are football stadiums full. I also covered basketball. So I covered the knockout rounds of men's and women's basketball. So to be there for, the men's team to win gold and what Stephen Curry did and LeBron
that was
James.
Insane.
It was nuts and even crazier in person. And they were playing France. Yeah. So it was a home game for France. Also on the women's side, I mean, it was a dogfight out there, but they prevailed and 8 gold medals in a row, the winningest team ever in Olympic history. The storylines are endless, and to be there in person to see it, you can't help but hope some of that greatness just rubs off on you, right?
Oh, totally, right? But one of my favorite parts was when Simone, she was wearing the goat necklace.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's
As
awesome.
she should.
As she should.
Yeah.
Like, just own that. I thought it was absolutely beautiful.
I agree.
So what advice would you have for folks that are, so you're navigating a complex industry, highly competitive industry, as you mentioned a little bit ago.
Yeah.
You got to go put your time in to prove yourself and get into one of these sports positions, get to the pinnacle, right to the Olympics. What are some of the unexpected twists and turns, things that you navigated that you wished maybe you had known or been told about, could have navigated, maybe more efficiently? Anything come to mind as you think about it?
First and foremost, I wish there was like a secret handbook on how to chase your dreams.
Right.
Because, and especially this, like, who's hiring for this job? How many years of experience do you need for this? I mean, money, we don't talk about money enough. Like, what is the market value for this job? So you're being paid what you're worth.
Yep.
So I just wish there was a full handbook. I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
No, I've everything has been amazing. The biggest thing that has happened is I was supposed to go to Tokyo in 2021. And so I was at the time with the Milwaukee Bucks and balancing my role with NBC Sports. And in 2021, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship. I hosted the parade. I mean, you talk about the highest of highs. And 24 hours later, I was supposed to get on a plane to go to Tokyo to cover what was at the time supposed to be my first Olympics. And I was covering men's and women's basketball. It was the dream. And I started to feel a little weird going, getting to the airport. Didn't think anything of it. At the time, once you landed in Tokyo, you were going to be tested for COVID as soon as you land.
Right.
And if you were positive, you were now in the hands of the Japanese government. Like, NBC was like, there's nothing.
And whatever their rules are,
whatever.
Rules.
Right. You're now in another country. So, and they had us testing all the days up ahead. I'm about to board my flight and I test and it's positive. And I'm just pacing back and forth. I have to call my NBC boss, and I missed all of the Tokyo Olympics. Wow. And so everything that I did for the last 3 years was, how do I make sure that I can get to Paris?
Yeah.
And be prepared in Paris. And so it was a big personal feat for me to be there and covering men's and women's basketball in addition to gymnastics. And, I think I was better prepared and better equipped too. I'm a different professional, different broadcaster. I knew how to navigate situations better. I mean, you talk about being in another country. Yes, I know how to navigate. I know the players on the men's and women's team for Team USA.
Yep.
But I don't know, the players on Brazil or Belgium and how to, talk to them and get stories from them. And so I'm in a much better place in my career. And I think, timing is everything. And my time was this summer and not in 2021. So everything happens for a reason. But it was wild. Yeah. It everything for the past 3 years was, Zora, will this decision put you in a position to be in Paris? That's how focused I was to try to get there.
So what's next? What do you see next for you or for the fan experience, the athlete experience?
Yeah.
What are some interesting things you see coming down the pike that'll change the industry?
Well, TV is in such an interesting spot because there's this, not struggle, but there's this big convergence of streaming versus over the air, right? Like, how are people watching games?
Yep.
Now, I believe, there's the whole conversation of cable and its decline. I believe people are going to want to watch live sports forever.
Yes.
It's just not the same watching it back.
I agree.
Seeing the score. Yep. You want to see how it happened and you want to see it live.
Sometimes I want to see both.
Yeah, right. Sometimes I can't watch something live and I see the score and I go back and watch it because I want to see how everything developed.
Yep.
What's changing is the how and the way people are watching. Are you watching on an iPad? Are you watching on your phone? Are you simply listening, with your AirPods in as you're, working out?
Yeah.
Are you going to a bar? Are you at home? So how you're consuming things is changing.
Yep.
But I think there will always be an appetite for live sports. So that is what I'm going to continue to affirm. And in terms of the experience, especially after everything we've been through as a society in the last 4 to 5 years, there's nothing better than being at a live event. Nice. I don't care if it's a conference, a concert, a game, and the in-game experiences everywhere are me. I mean, you talk about Paris and France putting its own touch on it. I love going to events in person. There's nothing like it. You've got the in-game hosts, you got mascots that are now becoming celebrities.
Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, Boomer, the Indiana Pacers Boomer, I think was ranked the number one coolest mascot in the NBA.
And you all had Boomer here at Rally.
Yes.
I was at the rave.
He was hanging at the rave.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So, and you see, an experience.
Yes.
And that's what carries people.
Yeah.
Is what they experience in any given moment to take away memories. So there's nothing like, in-game experiences. So I think sports are in a great place, specifically women's sports.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you talk about the attendance.
Oh, Alex Rodriguez was just talking about the increase in value of like the WNBA and all the various sports. I love like women's soccer, watching the women's soccer in the Olympics, et cetera.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching women's soccer more than men's soccer. I hope that's okay to say.
It's competitive. It's everything you want in sports, right? Like, I mean, you can't competitive storylines, rivalries, where they're talking about, women's soccer, NWSL here in the States, WNBA, everything. It's amazing to see. I mean, I've been a part of it all my life, but it's great to see everybody else joining the party.
I love it. Zora, congratulations on your journey, all of your success.
Thank you.
It's people like you that make it a better world, make it more interesting, more innovative. It's a pleasure to meet you, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you.